And...
The Unopened Casebook of Sherlock Holmes, 6 extraordinary adventures written by John Taylor, with Simon Callow as Sherlock Holmes and Nicky Henson as Dr. John Watson. The 5th adventure, The Devil's Tunnel.
It was a February night in the year 1882, and for some days I'd been keeping a small secret from my friend Sherlock Holmes. By some ironic coincidence, it seemed he had also been keeping one from me. We had just finished dinner when Holmes threw down his newspaper and gave an unexpected order.
Watson, shut that book and send for your coat at once.
I beg your pardon?
They're doing Tannhäuser at Her Majesty's. I know how you like your opera and managed to acquire 2 stall seats. It will provide a perfect fantasy for a gloomy winter's evening.
Holmes, I'm most terribly sorry. I have an existing engagement.
Is it solid?
I'm afraid it is. What a pity.
No matter. I shall go alone. Your appointment is in London?
In the Strand.
Oh. We were not in the Strand on Saturday evening?
I was.
And on Friday, too?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I have become friends with a certain lady of the theatre, and we're meeting for supper after her performance.
Oh. May I ask the name of her show?
There is a review in last week's paper. I was just now rereading it. Here.
Nothing in tonight's show came quite so close to perfection as the astounding performance of Miss Sarah Thackeray, enticingly billed as the Demon's Daughter. Many will remember her father, the great stage magician Jonas Mephisto Thackeray, and the family tradition. A singularly talented stage artiste. I can see why Tannhäuser might seem tame by comparison. She is pretty, I suppose?
It's very pretty, but she's hardly more than an acquaintance, and you're not to read blood-racing romance into the thing.
Really, Watson? To imagine I would suspect you of such impetuosity.
My lords, ladies, and gentlemen, the high spot of our evening's entertainment, the beautiful and mysterious Demon's Daughter, Miss Sarah Thackeray!
Well, what do you think?
Sarah, you were absolutely captivating. I've seen conjurers before, but you were, well, this felt like real magic. What do you think of the restaurant?
Stuffy.
Stuffy? Sarah, I fear you're too wild for a steady fellow like myself.
There's nothing at all wrong in being steady. It is what I like about you. It's why I feel I can trust you enough to risk seeming audacious. John, I wish you to help me.
The aunt's making things difficult again?
It is much worse. I'm afraid something terrible has happened.
Oh?
You know that my father and grandfather were both stage magicians.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they made a lot of money, and my aunts, of course, benefited from it. But they were always ashamed that the family money was earned in the popular theatre. When Father died, they not only became my guardians, they also, by some error, inherited all his money. They swore that if I had anything to do with the theatrical profession, and especially with magic, I would be cut out of their wills. I kept my work secret from them, John, until an article about me appeared last week in a newspaper.
I saw it.
So, more's the pity, did they? Someone in wicked spite posted it to Aunt Pen. John, I am to have nothing. I may go on living with them, but on their deaths I shan't get a penny.
Good Lord, and will nothing change their minds?
Well, there is something that might, but...
If I can help, Sarah, it would be an honor and a delight.
Oh, John, bless you, though I think you might find it an odd sort of request. Let me ask you then, how are you inclined towards travelling upon the railway?
Good evening, Watson.
Oh, good Lord. Holmes, I thought you were asleep.
I was ruminating upon this book. Do you know it?
Branch Lines by James Henry Strachan, being a collection of stories, facts, and anecdotes of the English railways. Didn't know such things interested you, Holmes?
Oh, it's fascinating stuff. But I had particular reason to read it. Some parcel thefts I'm investigating for the South Eastern Chatham Railway. I like trains. One can think on a train. Don't you find?
How's the opera?
Oh, you would have enjoyed it. A young man is bewitched by a young woman who lures him to a magical mountain world. Of course, it all ends in disaster. How was your evening?
Oh, rather good, really.
And Miss Sarah Thackeray?
As well. And about to take a short holiday in Yorkshire.
Yorkshire? A little bleak at this time of year?
She is accompanying her elderly aunts to the family home.
You will miss her, I expect.
Holmes, I suppose I must tell you it all. I'm going with them. Her two spinster aunts have disinherited the poor girl because they will not tolerate her working in the theatre, and she has hatched a plan to make them change their minds. You see, the dangers of travel have put them off holidaying in their country home for several years. Sarah has offered to accompany them to Strawberry Moor and to arrange a trustworthy bodyguard for the railway journey, with the hope of winning back their favour.
Ah, and the trustworthy bodyguard
will be myself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I only need to travel up with them, stay overnight at the house, and return to London the following day.
Strawberry Moor. How singular. The book I'm reading mentions that very line. It passes through Quickfall Edge, you know. There is a long tunnel with a sinister reputation. Here, you can read about it.
The Legend of the Devil's Tunnel. Many years, scene of unexplained events. Ever since Lord Wilfrid George Harwood, the so-called hanging judge, alive and laughing when his train entered the tunnel, was found stone dead of a stroke when it emerged from the other end. Bless my soul.
There you are, Watson. It sounds like a thoroughly bewitching mountain world you are being lured into.
A few days later, Sarah, her two aunts, and I set off upon our journey. Ruth Thackeray was plump, with a pleasant manner, but her sister Pem, small, bony, and ill-tempered, her face hidden by a black veil, apparently to hide the scars of a childhood smallpox. The first part of our journey went well, but when we changed onto the branch line, our comforts ended, for the aunts refused under any circumstances to leave their luggage trunk unattended.
This is a very irregular business, sir.
No doubt, but the Mrs. Thackeray did arrange it in advance.
This is a luggage van, not a passenger compartment. Ladies travelling with their luggage, it's not proper procedure.
I thought a porter was paid to lift and carry, not to proffer opinion.
Happens so, madam. But if you get uncomfortable, it's me you'll be mourning to.
But there's no corridor on this train. I'm left no choice.
We lost a trunk from this very train 10 years ago. It caused my sister such distress, we are determined it should never happen again.
I'd like to see the sneak thief could lift this. Penny Rose, you better sit where you can.
Thank you.
Yes, something for your trouble.
Aye. You do have return tickets, madam.
Indeed we do. Why?
Just try not to bump into me on your way back, eh?
Ruthless, these railwaymen. Such disrespect.
Never mind, Pen, dear.
Just think how good it will be to see Strawberry House again, Aunt Pem. Almost there now.
Well, personally, I shall not feel almost there until we've reached the other side of that wretched tunnel. The din and the darkness. It frightens me.
Aunt Pem, a tunnel is a tunnel. Now let us relax and enjoy the journey. Poor Dr. Watson is tired after his exertions and could do with a rest. John, I'm sorry to wake you.
What? Oh, Sarah. Miss Thackeray, forgive me, I was leaning on you.
Oh, it's not that, but I'm going to sit between Aunt Pem and Aunt Ruth. Then I can look after them and they can look after me.
Look after them?
In the tunnel, see? The embankments are rising either side of the train.
Oh, indeed they are.
There's a long cutting, then in we go.
Yes, I do believe... Well, this must be it.
It's too dark.
Never mind, Aunt Pem, I've got your hand.
It's the noise I can't
A
abide.
few minutes and we'll be out again. Dr. Watson, are you finding it tolerable?
Oh, don't trouble for me. I rather like it.
Like it well.
Aunt Pem!
My arm! Something scratched my arm. It scratched me, Sarah.
Yes, Aunt Pem, it's all right.
You must have snapped yourself on a pin in your dress. There's no pins in my dress. A pin in your dress, perhaps. Oh, it's so hot. The window, please.
Aunt Pem, I can't even see the window.
Perhaps I can feel my way to it. But I fear we'll let in a lot of smoke and steam.
No, madam. I must have air. Please, Dr. Watson, if you would be so kind.
Very well.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Can I assist in any other way, Miss Thackeray?
No one can help. I just wish it would end.
There, Aunt Pem, let me put my arm round you.
Oh, well, thank you, Sarah, dear. You are a comfort. You really are.
We shall be out into the light in no time.
Well, I cannot can't see my watch, but I reckon we must be clear of it soon.
Are you holding out, dear Aunt Pen? I'm gritting my teeth and hating every passing second. Aunt Ruth, I shall survive. I've been passing the minutes imagining us all taking a cream tea in the music room at Strawberry House. I take it you still have a taste for cream tea, Sarah? I don't think you heard what Ruth asked you, dear. Cream teas. Do you still like them? Sarah? Sarah, are you all right?
There. The world is still there after... My goodness. Sarah!
Sarah! Sarah! Oh, Dr. Watson, stop the train! Stop the train!
Is this Quickford?
Yes, sir.
I see no inn.
I sit over in the village, opposite the mill.
As fast as you possibly can, please.
Nay, she's a grandmother, this mare, sir. We're doing our best. There, that's the Pilgrim's Arms on the green. Come along, Annie.
Yes, Annie. Come along. Well, my dear fellow, you have had a dreadful day. Those are all the details as far as you can recollect.
Yes, I think so. I feel better for having told someone. It was good of you to come so quickly, Holmes.
How could I not?
That telegram I sent you must have seemed hysterical.
Hysteria is not among your failings.
Yet still, how is it possible? I heard her speak only moments before, and yet, I say it again, when we emerged from that tunnel, she had completely disappeared. Not a trace of her, nothing.
After the train stopped, a check was made of the track.
Of the entire tunnel. Her hat was found some way into the tunnel and one of her shoes at the tunnel mouth.
But no trace of blood, as one would have expected had she fallen from a train.
Indeed. The train fits the tunnel very snugly. A body leaving by the window at such speed, well, would be hideously damaged.
Certainly. Then, if you would better go over it once more. Let us summarize.
Of course.
Soon after the train enters the tunnel, Miss Pam Thackeray complains of a scratching sensation on her arm. When she becomes hot, you open the windows. After that, nothing else remarkable, until a few moments before the train quits the tunnel, when you hear Sarah Thackeray speak. How many moments would you say?
15 seconds, at most 20.
In which short space of time she seems to have vanished into thin air.
The poor dear girl.
I must admit, Watson, it is an intriguing puzzle. The two aunts. Now, how are they taking it?
Miss Ruth remained enough in control of herself. Miss Penn was quite hysterical. They're at their house on Strawberry Moor. I must say that they seem genuinely upset, however badly they may have treated the girl before.
Well, then, let us find some transport and get to Strawberry Moor immediately.
Do sit down, Dr. Watson. Mr. Holmes, I shall have some tea brought to you. I'm sorry my sister Penn could not be here to receive you. She is, well, quite distracted. She's taken to her bed.
Shock, do you think, Miss Thackeray?
Oh, that is putting it mildly, Dr. Watson. She is grieving terribly for Sarah.
I gather from Dr. Watson, however, that your relationship with your niece was not always an entirely happy one.
Oh, from the day her father died and she came to live with us, we found her rebellious, self-willed, and lawless. Even though she knew how Pem abhorred everything to do with the theatre, she was determined to become a common playhouse trollop. That is no life for a respectable woman.
Miss Thackeray, I think it is time for us to talk to your sister.
Out of the question, Mr. Holmes. She's in no state to talk to anyone. I fear her mind is a little gone. She's started to have ludicrous fantasies about devils and the like.
Miss Thackeray, should your niece Sarah be found dead, the police may take it on themselves to instigate a murder inquiry. In that event, the passengers who shared that railway wagon will be the most obvious suspects. Now, I would be grateful if you would show us directly to your sister's room.
Pen? Pen, dear, it's Ruth.
Ruth?
You can't see much of her, gentlemen, but she is there in the bed behind the curtains, and she can't tolerate any light. Pen, there's someone to see you. Do you remember Dr. Watson? He travelled with us from London.
Dr. London?
Dr. Watson, Sarah's friend. He's come with his colleague, Mr. Holmes. They're trying to find out what happened to Sarah.
We know what happened to Sarah. She was taken.
Taken, Miss Thackeray?
She should have heeded the good book, Woe to Women Who Sow Magic Charms.
You believe she was abducted from the train by some supernatural power?
Body and soul, but that is not the end of it.
Not the end of it? What do you mean, Miss Thackeray?
Let the doctor come nearer.
Certainly.
Look at this arm of mine.
A scratch mark. Quite superficial. Could have been done with a knife point or even a needle. Nothing odd except the shape of it. Sort of roughly made S.
It happened to me in that tunnel. I'm no fool, Doctor. I know what it means. They will come for me next. Tonight, I dare say, or tomorrow. But let them come. My will is made. I'm ready. Send them away. Tell them they're wasting their time. Sarah is lost.
Pem, dear.
No. Let her be, Miss Thackeray. But tell me, when your sister says she has remade her will...
It's true, Mr. Holmes. This very evening, she made over her entire share of the estate to a children's charity. She's always wished to do good for poor children.
I see. Well, thank you, Miss Thackeray. But one last thing. The trunk in which you brought your possessions to Yorkshire today, is it unpacked?
Yes. Pem unpacked it herself directly we arrived.
Your sister unpacked it?
Yes.
I wonder if I might borrow it. There's an experiment I should like to conduct which may help our efforts to solve the mystery of your missing niece.
Oh, then take it, do. I'll have Braithwaite help you down with it from the lumber room. And now I think we'd better leave poor Pem sleeping.
I'm afraid, Holmes, I fail to see how this monstrous thing will help us. It is quite empty.
Not quite. You'll notice there is a grey powdery deposit in the bottom. But you're right, of course. The trunk may not help us at all. We're simply keeping open various possibilities. Sarah Thackeray definitely left that tunnel one way or another. Either in the train or out of it or on top of it. Of course, the hat and shoe may have been tossed from the train to set up a false trail. But if she was in the train, where was she?
Ah, I see what you're thinking. She might have been in the trunk.
If what you told me is true, how could that be? Is there not a problem of time? You have said only a few seconds elapsed between Sarah's last words and the moment the train emerged from the tunnel. Was it long enough for a person to have emptied the trunk, which you say was full and very heavy, and clambered in? And who then would have sealed those hasps?
You're right, of course. Not nearly long enough. Besides, why should Sarah contrive her disappearance when she might, if she wished, simply have run away? Then what did happen?
We will know more tonight when we have kept our last appointment.
But Holmes, at this hour, everywhere is shut.
Oh, no, my dear fellow. This is one place which is always open.
Holmes, I am baffled.
It's a baffling business, Price.
Yes, but what I mean is we have walked almost the whole length of this tunnel. If Sarah fell or was thrown from the train, it would have been at the exit we should find clues. That was where we came upon the shoe and the hat.
You've noticed nothing of interest, then?
Nothing.
Underfoot, Watson, is where you should be looking. This is the fifth we have come across.
You mean the rock?
They occur at intervals of about 200 yards.
Fallen from the tunnel roof, I suppose.
How so? The ceiling of the tunnel's brick.
Oh, so it is. But bits of stone, what can they tell us?
Well, have you noticed, Watson, that they seem to be made of the same powdery grey stone we found in the bottom of that trunk? I think they may actually tell us a good deal.
Come along. Let's get out of this dismal place and seek ourselves a hot pie at the inn.
Oh, dear God, what an awful night. I can't sleep. Pem in that gloomy bedroom with only half her senses. Sarah gone. Heaven knows where. Pem? Oh, I hope she's not out of bed. What is this? That was not in Pem's room. It was out on the landing. Or on the stairs. Pem, dear? Are you out of your bed? Braithwaite. If I can make him hear me. Braithwaite! Braithwaite!
Mr. Holmes! Mr. Holmes! Mr. Holmes, I say!
A little before dawn, I found myself awake. There was a commotion outside the inn.
What in hell's name is this? It's 4 in the morning.
You don't look like Mr. Holmes.
What do you mean shouting fire and brimstone at this ungodly hour?
I'll talk to Mr. Holmes, if you please.
My first thought was that Sarah had been found.
What's up here?
Mr. Holmes, Ben Braithwaite, sir, from up at Strawberry House. I've Miss Ruth in the back, sir, in a desperate way.
Bring her upstairs at once.
I dressed hastily and, collecting my medical bag, made my way to the small sitting room along the corridor to where the activity seemed to have moved.
How is she, Watson?
Better, I think.
Now, Miss Thackeray, try to stay with us. There were noises, you say. Thumping and dragging noises on the landing outside your room.
What a coward I was. I was sure it was going to Pem's room. I knew it. But I dared not open the door.
You called for Braithwaite.
For ages and ages. It came at last. We opened a door.
She was gone.
Oh, dear God. Dear God.
We searched the house, sir, and the yard, and drove around the moor in the wagon before coming here, but found no trace.
I fear that in her weakness of mind, she's gone wandering on the open moor in a delirium. If she's not already dead.
Well, Miss Thackeray, you must not return to that house tonight. I'm sure Braithwaite will go back, and no doubt there is a room at the inn you can stay in for the time being. As for you and I, Watson, we shall take an early breakfast. You've not much appetite this morning, my friend?
None at all. I cannot get Sarah off my mind. And now her Aunt Pem is gone, too. Do you believe the old lady might still be alive?
I fear not. But we shall look at the house again today. And afterwards to Insford, the next station up the line. We're going to make our own journey through this devil's tunnel. That experiment I mentioned.
Do you think that will... Holmes, what is going on out there? Look, a crowd has gathered and it looks as though they're untangling something from the mill wheel, something large and black.
So they are. Come, we better go and see.
Well, Mr. Holmes, thou art a detective? What dost thou make of this? It's old Miss Thackeray from Strawberry House. Looks like she fell in the river upstream, drowned, and was carried down into Millwheel.
That seems like a fair summary to me, Mr. Basham.
Look at her, though. Bent like a gate spring. This way and that.
Into a sort of S shape.
Well, we'll at least spare the inconvenience of a trip to Strawberry House.
You think there is nothing more to be discovered there?
I dare say there will be signs and clues galore, but we've more urgent business. Our train journey, just as soon as I've settled a few things with Mr. Basham here.
Within the hour, Holmes and I were at Insford Station, ready to take the first train of the day back through the tunnel. It became clear that what Holmes had in mind was a complete reconstruction of the fateful journey upon which Sarah had disappeared. For we were to ride, as before, in the luggage wagon. Just after the train arrived, I saw Holmes and the bearded Mr. Basham haul onto the platform the trunk which Holmes had borrowed from Ruth Thackeray, the very same which the Mrs. Thackeray had brought on that terrible journey. It was obviously packed with something, for Holmes and his companions struggled to load it onto the wagon. And then we were underway.
Mr. Basham, how very, very kind of you to agree to help with this experiment.
My pleasure, Mr. Holmes.
I've had to ask him, Watson, for his forgiveness for dragging him away from his work, but only a man with a full black beard could have helped.
What? Holmes, do explain, please.
I cannot, Watson. It would spoil everything. But all will soon become clear. Now, we're approaching the tunnel, and I wish as far as possible to reconstruct every detail of yesterday's events. You were
here, with Sarah, facing the engine.
Good. Now, when the train enters the tunnel, I would like you to do just as I ask. Will you do that?
Of course.
I promise that everything will soon be clear. You can comfort yourself with this thought, Watson. Sarah Thackeray did not kill herself. Neither was she murdered.
What are you saying?
Stand by, Watson. We're going in. So here you are. Sarah, yourself, and the two aunts, snugged together in the pitch darkness. What next?
Miss Pem complains of a scratching on her arm. She gets hot. I open the window.
Do it now.
I'm making their way now. I have hold of the strap. You see what I mean, Holmes? About the smell, the noise.
Just what you needed, Watson. Noise, darkness, a strong smell.
She?
Sarah Thackeray. She was telling the truth when she said she meant to get her inheritance back, Watson, but she never planned to do it by gentle persuasion. Her method was murder.
But Sarah is the victim in all this. How could she?
How much longer before we leave the tunnel, Watson?
I cannot see my watch. I don't know. I suppose about a minute.
We're close to the point then at which you last heard Sarah speak.
Yes, some remark to Ruth about enjoying the excitement in all. Then there was idle chatter about green teas, to which Sarah did not reply. Not the first time nor the second. And at that moment, more or less, we come out of the tunnel, and Sarah was...
It has been a cold winter, Mr. Basham.
How's that? Now but snow, ice, now a ground. No farmer in Yorkshire won't be glad to see the first green of spring. How is it down in London, Dr. Watson?
No, well, they're saying it is the worst winter for many years, I think. Are they not, Holmes? Aren't they, Holmes? Holmes, I hope you're not playing games with me. You must know that these last 2 days have been... Good Lord! Holmes! Mr. Basham, where is he? Pull that handle, man. Stop the train.
No need for that, Watson. I'm right here.
What? Holmes, it's you. In a false beard and that fellow's jacket. But then, where is he?
In the trunk, of course. Where else could he be? As you'll see if I unsnap the hasps. Neatly curled up in an S shape.
I'm very glad to uncurl again, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Basham. I wanted to be sure it could be done in the time available, and that is now proven.
What is proven?
Pem Thackeray was dead mere moments after Sarah scratched her arm with a lethal poison. After that, when you thought you heard Pem talking, what you actually heard was Sarah impersonating her voice, just as I impersonated Mr. Basham just now. That done, Sarah emptied the trunk of the rocks she had used to give it weight and hurled them from the train window.
The ones we found at intervals along the tunnel.
Precisely. Then she locked her aunt's body into the trunk, disguised herself with a veil, threw a hat and a shoe from the train, and lo, Sarah Thackeray, to all intents and purposes, was gone. When we thought we spoke to Pam in that bed yesterday, we spoke to Sarah. And all that nonsense about souls being taken was merely intended to confuse us. It was Sarah, not Pam, who changed the will. And it is Sarah, not orphan children, whom I have no doubt stands to benefit from it.
But Pem was found in the mill.
Sarah had to get rid of the body. The noises that terrified Ruth Thackeray last night were the sounds of Pem's body being dragged from some cupboard out of the house to the river, from where it was carried down to the mill. It was S-shaped because, of course, rigor mortis had fixed it in that position.
Here we are, Mr. Holmes. A quick call. On time for once. Here comes the down train on the other platform.
Ah, yes. And no doubt... Watson, quick, on the other platform. It's Sarah Thackeray.
What good heavens. And so it was. Though in her newest disguise as a student, I think I would have missed her completely. Catching sight of us bearing down upon her, she first made to run, but there was no exit, and she resigned herself bravely to her fate. This, I must say, moved me somewhat, but I could think of nothing to say to her. And as for her, she could barely look me in the eye.
Oh, Lord. John, I deceived you.
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry.
Are you?
Yes, really sorry.
It's odd. When I thought last night that I was examining your Aunt Pem's arm, it was you I was touching.
It was hard for me, too. How I wanted you just to keep holding me.
I don't think, Miss Thackeray, that I would ever again believe any word you said to me, however sincerely you spoke it.
Well, you know us theatre people, John. Make-believe is our business.
In The Devil's Tunnel, you heard Simon Callow as Sherlock Holmes, Nicky Henson as Dr. Watson, and Rachel Joyce as Sarah Thackeray. Pem and Ruth Thackeray were played by Kate Binchy and Gilly Mears. The part of Basham was played by Jonathan Taffner, Braithwaite by Keith Drinkle, and the trap driver by David Holt. Other parts were played by members of the cast. The Unopened Casebook of Sherlock Holmes is written by John Taylor and directed by Peter Hutchins.